Oh. Non-serrated blade, yeah. Mine is serrated.
And then you gotta take this leaf in underneath like this. Cut off the first one. Probably guaranteed. Cut off the first two. Those ones we can use as save to make them roses I was showing you before. And then
Yeah.
the serrated blade is gonna really mess with me, but I'm gonna try and do it anyway. Now what you gotta do is you gotta bend this, get this so it bends.
Yeah, so you cut some off a little bit at a
So
time.
what I do is I start off on this side that's all fat, and I just shave just the edge. Just the edge kind of down to where you want to get, which is going to be
Oh, wow.
right
Real
about,
thin, huh?
right about there. Well, these edges, when you get to bending it, will kind of act like a top fold and create a crease. So you don't want those the corners there. So like that. Then I'll go on this side. I got to cut that flap off. Now I'm doing this with just the tip because that's where the non-serrated part is.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that
I got scissors in my backpack too.
somewhere close to that on each side. And then you got to come down from the top using your blade in a flat way to get this as even and flat as you can, so it'll start to bend. Hit the edges first and then bring the middle down.
Yeah, I was making headbands and the ends were like super wide and goofy.
So it's starting to do a bend like that. And that's about how much bend you want. Now the trick is you want to go in this direction with the grain, the leaves tucked under your arm this way. Try and do it another way. It doesn't work for some reason.
Cut right.
Yeah. See, this is going to be an issue.
Oh no.
This one's broken, yeah?
Yeah, so it's not gonna curl right around.
Yeah, definitely won't. So I'm going to switch back to this one, since this one isn't broken.
Oh. Running down her leg.
But it's generally easier to start with the thicker one like the other one to control it more, or?
Like on this side?
Yeah.
As long as you just kind of finesse the edges. I used to just take my blade and just work it down. And then when I'd make my circle, it would not be a circle. It would be like kinked, like little corners all around it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was from not trimming these edges first. Because this makes a corner right here. And that's 90 degrees. You start trying to make this edge right here round, it wants to crease. So you got to take this 90-degree thing out of there. Like,
so it bends
down
like
to
50-50 more instead of trying
so it'll
to
roll instead of creasing.
kink.
Yeah, see? Get that edge off of there, and then it has the ability to round. And then it also gives you a natural spot where it wants to stop so it doesn't gouge right through it. And you can start to see where it gets smooth. It starts to smooth itself out and get a little bit wetter in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can kind of tell like it's getting real close. So then you got to just back it up and do more of that.
Like I've done ripcords, I've done zip lines, just scared the shit out of me. The whole time through your feeler. wow.
Now this is hard for me because I gotta
Yeah, a little
I
bit
gotta
of blade to
control
work
this little
with.
tip, so I gotta like gouge myself with the sharp parts.
Because if it wasn't serrated, you'd be doing a lot smoother,
If it wasn't
longer
serrated, I'd be
cuts.
like this.
Yeah.
So, not having. Ideally, you want this whole section of blade that's serrated will be flat, and then you can just go. But we do what we do when we can do it.
My favorite knife, I had thrown it in my 5-gallon bucket that I generally use for trash, and then I went to the dump and didn't tell my buddy that
And
it wasn't all trash in there, and he threw away my favorite knife and some other cool stuff I had thrown in there. Oh, man. He's like, you didn't empty that 5-gallon bucket, did you? Did you do anything with the good stuff in there? No, I just threw it over. I was like, oh my God.
I'm just using my leg to support this whole thing because it starts to bend.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how thin you're getting that. We never went that far to get it that thin. Like,
And then we got to teach the thing how to bend. It's never really been in a circle
bent
before. And ideally, we're going to need some string pretty soon to tie this thing up.
I got some electrical tape.
Might just work, yeah. These little gouge like that will make it want to crease, so you want to smooth those out.
You're gonna have to get to 100 today. 60. 60.
See how it's bending?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's super easy. We always tried to work it, and, you know,
Yeah,
like...
getting this off makes a huge difference. I try and bend that with that on there. Shaving the leaf. I suppose when I do this with, like, if I do this with my knife, this part would probably take me
A minute or
maybe
something.
3 minutes, you know. Getting it bent. I could get it all tied up within 5 minutes.
I do have a nice small pair of scissors. I don't know if that would help at all, but...
Yeah. I could probably stop right now because this thing's not gonna
be that
not
long.
gonna be that huge.
Unless you're making it for a Simone or something.
Oh, well, and the leaves are so much different on one side than the other that it would be lopsided anyway. So this leaf here versus this leaf here, right? If these are in the same basket, it's going to be obviously weird. So when you pull up your coconut frond, you lay it out, right? You look at the edges of it, it'll go up, and then it'll start to dive in.
Okay.
So this section before it starts to dive in is what, they'll all be about the same, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then they'll start getting smaller and smaller. So I'll hit this as my target line and then probably incorporate a couple more of these and called this.
And that's how long
this
it-
lower section will probably be the best, or the half. But see that? How it wants to be basically any size circle we want. It's ready to be.
Well, who should we make it for? I got a tiny head if that's easier.
Well, so we'd have to do something like this. And then I'll go ahead and...
You want me to get the tape?
I'm going to have to adjust this since you want to make a hat, so... You want to make this a little longer because you have to overlap the other part of it to get them to tie up good, right? And then since they tie up good, you want them smooth on both sides, both of these. So any of these leaves you cut off, you got to flatten them out. Otherwise, you get a shitty product. Okay, so where this I just cut is going to end up going real smooth up against the other side like that. See how I trim that so it's nice and clean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then if we're gonna size this up to your head, we'll put this on your head. Such a tiny head.
I know, I told you.
Up to about and that spot that I marked is basically this. And then I gotta tie it up to that size. So, laying it down on my lap, hold that where it was. I'm gonna wanna cut a notch where this is overlapping, like this.
And that's where you'd put your string?
That's where my string goes in, right? And it marks it for me. And then I'll do another one on this side of this leaf. So that way I know how big this thing's gonna be. And I can cut this one off. Since I got my little marks on here, I can come back to this side and just match them up. And I always cut this one first on the outside of this, right towards the end. Because if you cut this one first, then this one wants to break the whole fucking thing off. So you always do that.
The side of what?
If I cut this one first, then when I cut this one, it wants to fold.
The grain's
it wants
too
to snap.
funny.
See how this one broke? It wants to do that.
Wow.
So you gotta...
I never would have thought of that.
After 600 baskets, you start
Catching on to things.
So this edge is a little thick for me, so I'm gonna shave it even a little more down. See how it does this roundy thing? I know that's getting kind of small, but
You want the bottom of your V really tight, you mean? Like,
I was talking about the thickness of this edge again.
oh, okay.
See how I'm shaving this edge a little thinner?
Uh-huh.
It was looking a little rounded for me, and you want it to be not rounded. So anyway, those are the spots where I'll make my string go in on both edges, and it lines up our size for us.
So start towards the
So like this,
bottom side in order to not get the notch to run.
yeah.
Because if
It's
you
more
started right
important-
there, it would
It'll break it out
slide.
this way. And that matters mostly when this is already cut here, closer to the end. So I think I'm gonna have to end up cutting this off, like right here. We'll have to check. Then this is rounded. I see a shadow here that makes me not happy. So I'm just gonna flatten that off a little more. Because that's where the kinks come in when you roll it.
If you don't get right down to where it's
Yeah.
like dry past the wet layer.
Yeah. And then anything on the edges that gets fatter is gonna make it want to kink. So I just go back, clean up some of those edges. Then it'll roll real good. Now, ideally, I need to find me a piece of string, but we could do tape, I guess.
I mean,
Something that doesn't stretch would be better. Let's see what I can think of.
yeah, I got electrical tape. I got like, you know, we could cut off some of these, but that's probably not able to tighten down hard enough.
Electrical tape.
Okay.